The headlines are everywhere. The debates are nonstop, and now one of the most outspoken cultural commentators has entered the conversation. Candace Owens is weighing in on Blake Lively's high-profile legal battle, and she is not holding back. But this is not just another celebrity feud, according to Candace. This case exposes a much deeper challenge that women in the public eye face every single day. In her view, what is happening to Blake Lively is more than a tabloid story. It is a mirror, reflecting the pressures, expectations, and contradictions that define how women are judged when they step into conflict. Whether in Hollywood, in business, or in their personal lives, Candace believes this is a moment that reveals uncomfortable truths about how quickly public opinion can turn, how easily narratives can be shaped, and how much harder it is for women to defend their reputation when every move is dissected in real time. She is asking hard questions about whether fame offers protection or simply magnifies vulnerability, and whether the media plays a fair role in covering these disputes or fuels the fire for clicks and ratings. This is not about choosing sides, she insists, but about recognizing that the scrutiny on women, especially those with influence, comes with unique challenges that are rarely acknowledged publicly. In this special deep dive, we are unpacking exactly what Candace Owens said, why her comments are sparking discussion, and how the Blake Lively case has become a cultural flashpoint that speaks to issues far beyond one courtroom battle, from the power of social media narratives to the role of outdated gender stereotypes. This story is bigger than celebrity gossip. It is about the way society treats women when the spotlight is on and the stakes are high. Candace Owens has never been one to shy away from speaking her mind, and this time her focus has turned toward the ongoing legal drama surrounding Blake Lively in what has become one of the most closely watched celebrity disputes of the year. Candace has positioned herself not merely as a commentator, but as a cultural voice challenging the way the entertainment world handles such high-profile conflicts. And in her recent statements, she framed the situation as more than a personal battle between two well-known figures. To her, it is emblematic of a deeper challenge facing women in the public eye, and particularly women navigating both career and personal reputation under the scrutiny of an unforgiving media landscape. She questioned whether the legal system and public discourse are truly giving women the freedom to defend themselves without being unfairly judged, or whether fame amplifies expectations to an unrealistic and damaging level. In her perspective, the Blake Lively case has become a lightning rod for discussions about accountability, credibility, and the role public perception plays in shaping the outcome of disputes. Candace argued that when a woman in Hollywood faces legal trouble, the reactions tend to be polarized, with one side portraying her as a victim of circumstances and another branding her as manipulative without full consideration of facts or fairness. This polarized response, in her view, says more about society than about the individual at the center of the storm, and she warned that the public too often treats celebrity trials as entertainment rather than serious matters with real-life consequences for the people involved. She emphasized that even though the Blake Lively legal matter has been sensationalized across headlines, it reflects the kind of scrutiny everyday women face on a smaller scale in their workplaces, communities, and relationships. And in highlighting this, she sought to draw a connection between celebrity culture and the broader experience of women trying to navigate disputes without their character being put on trial in the court of public opinion. Candace also spoke about the pressures unique to women in high-visibility positions, noting that a woman in entertainment must not only prove her legal standing, but also manage her image in a way that aligns with public expectations. Otherwise, the backlash can be swift and damaging. This double burden, she suggested, is rarely discussed openly, yet it is a reality for many, and the Blake Lively case is offering a rare opportunity for society to confront it head-on. While she made it clear that her commentary was not meant to take sides in the actual legal merits of the case, she stressed that moments like these demand deeper analysis of cultural standards and how they are applied unevenly across gender lines. Her concern is that public opinion often gets shaped less by evidence and more by narratives that align with preconceived notions about how women should behave in moments of crisis, and this is where she believes more honest conversation is needed. The fact that Blake Lively is a major Hollywood figure only heightens the stakes, because every word, every facial expression, every public appearance becomes part of a running story that audiences feel entitled to interpret, dissect, and judge. In Candace's view, The danger lies in the way this turns real human struggle into a spectacle while sidestepping the nuanced realities of legal processes, which are often far more complex than the headlines suggest. She called for more responsible public discourse, and for the media to move away from reinforcing stereotypes that ultimately harm women as a group, no matter where they stand in any particular dispute. In her final remarks on the matter during this segment of her commentary, Candace reminded her audience that while celebrity legal drama may seem distant from their everyday lives, the cultural attitudes it reinforces have a way of filtering into workplaces, schools, and homes, affecting the way women are perceived and treated in conflicts that have nothing to do with fame or fortune. Candace Owens went further in examining how the Blake Lively legal battle has evolved into a broader discussion about cultural double standards, and how these double standards manifest in both subtle and overt ways. She noted that while public reaction to male celebrities facing legal challenges often leans toward assessing the facts or focusing on the technicalities of the case, the conversation surrounding women tends to veer toward emotional narratives, personality judgments, and speculative gossip. This difference in framing, she argued, creates a dynamic where women have to fight not just the legal fight, but also the battle over their public identity. She questioned why public sympathy often shifts so unpredictably, and why narratives about women in high-profile disputes seem to swing between extremes, portraying them as either blameless victims or calculating masterminds with little room for complexity. Candace underscored that this polarization strips away the humanity of the individuals involved and turns them into symbols for competing agendas. She also brought attention to how social media amplifies this effect, with platforms rewarding outrage and emotional responses over thoughtful analysis. In her perspective, the Blake Lively case is a perfect example of how digital culture accelerates the spread of narratives that may have little connection to the actual legal proceedings, and yet end up influencing how the case is perceived in the court of public opinion. She reminded her viewers that most people following such cases have no direct access to evidence or first-hand accounts, and yet they form strong opinions based on selective reporting or viral sound bites. This tendency, she warned, is dangerous because it encourages snap judgments and reinforces biases that are already deeply ingrained in society. For Candace, the lesson here is not just about the responsibility of media outlets, but also about the role of audiences in shaping the discourse. She encouraged people to become more critical consumers of information and to resist the temptation to engage with sensationalism at the expense of accuracy and fairness. She also explored how the challenges faced by women in these situations intersect with larger, systemic issues such as the lack of female representation in legal and decision-making spaces. This imbalance, she argued, means that women in high-profile disputes often find themselves in rooms where the power dynamics are tilted against them, both in terms of legal strategy and media portrayal. This is not to say that women cannot and do not succeed in such environments, but Candace stressed that the extra hurdles they face should be part of the conversation when cases like this dominate the news cycle. She also reflected on how Blake Lively's celebrity status complicates matters further, because fame brings with it a level of visibility that magnifies every move, every statement, and every perceived misstep. For Candace, this is why it is important to discuss the cultural context around the case, rather than focusing solely on the spectacle. She argued that without understanding the underlying social dynamics, the public risks misinterpreting the events and reinforcing harmful stereotypes about women in leadership roles or public life. Candace concluded this portion of her commentary by reiterating that her goal was not to declare guilt or innocence, but to push for a conversation that moves beyond the surface level drama and addresses the structural challenges that make it harder for women to navigate legal disputes with their dignity and credibility intact. Candace Owens continued her analysis by looking at how the Blake Lively legal situation has become almost a case study in the intersection between celebrity culture, legal narratives, and gender expectations. She noted that the story has been kept alive not only by traditional news outlets, but also by online influencers, bloggers, and commentators, each offering their own spin, which in turn fuels an ongoing cycle of interpretation and reaction. Candace argued that this cycle can be especially damaging for women because the layers of commentary often create a distorted version of reality, where speculation becomes accepted as truth, and this distortion then feeds back into public perception. She pointed out that while legal proceedings are designed to weigh evidence under structured rules, the court of public opinion has no such constraints and operates almost entirely on perception and emotion. This means that even if a woman prevails legally, the reputational damage sustained during the process can be lasting and in some cases irreversible. Candace also drew attention to the way certain narratives gain traction, depending on how they align with pre-existing cultural tropes. For example, she observed that stories portraying women as overly ambitious, manipulative, or emotionally unstable tend to spread more quickly and provoke stronger reactions than those showing them as competent, rational, or fair-minded. She questioned why these outdated archetypes still hold so much influence in shaping public opinion, especially in an era where conversations about equality and representation are more prominent than ever. In the case of Blake Lively, Candace suggested that much of the conversation has been shaped less by the actual claims in court and more by the image the public already holds of her based on her acting roles, red carpet appearances, and social media presence. She emphasized that this is part of the larger challenge for women in the spotlight, because they are rarely judged solely on their actions within a specific situation. Instead, they are evaluated through the lens of their entire public persona, which can lead to unfair and irrelevant scrutiny. Candace highlighted that this environment can discourage women from defending themselves assertively because any strong stance can be reframed as aggression, while a measured response can be dismissed as weakness. She explained that this double bind is one of the most persistent challenges facing women in high-visibility roles, and that it requires a shift in how both the media and the public interpret behavior. She also stressed that this is not simply a celebrity issue, but one that affects women across industries from politics to business to sports, where public image and personal reputation can have a profound impact on career opportunities and personal well-being. In her commentary, Candace called on viewers to recognize their own role in sustaining these patterns by questioning whether their reactions to such stories are based on facts or on cultural narratives that they may have absorbed unconsciously. She concluded this segment by reminding her audience that the Blake Lively case may eventually reach a resolution in court, but the larger societal conversation it has sparked will remain relevant for years to come, especially if people are willing to use it as a moment of reflection and change. Candace Owens shifted her focus toward the way the Blake Lively legal case is being covered by entertainment and news media outlets, noting that the tone and framing of coverage play a critical role in shaping public perception. She pointed out that certain headlines and segments seem crafted more to generate clicks and engagement than to present balanced information, and that this commercial incentive often leads to the amplification of the most dramatic or polarizing aspects of the story. Candace argued that this approach can have a disproportionate impact on women because narratives involving their personal lives, appearance, and demeanor are far more likely to be emphasized than their professional accomplishments or legal arguments. She suggested that in the case of Blake Lively, much of the media attention has focused on speculation about her relationships and behind-the-scenes dynamics rather than the legal complexities at the heart of the dispute. This pattern, she explained, reinforces the perception that women in the public eye are defined more by their personal lives than by their work or their achievements. Candace also expressed concern about the way public commentary has been influenced by social media algorithms, which reward content that provokes strong emotional reactions regardless of accuracy or fairness. She noted that once a narrative gains traction online, it can be nearly impossible to correct even when contradictory evidence comes to light, because people tend to share information that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs rather than updating their views based on new facts. This phenomenon, she argued, is one of the biggest challenges for women involved in public disputes, because the pace and reach of online narratives mean that reputational harm can spread much faster than any official clarification or legal resolution. Candace encouraged her audience to think critically about the content they consume and share, reminding them that behind every headline and viral post, there are real people whose lives and careers can be affected in lasting ways. She also addressed the idea that fame offers protection in such situations, pushing back on the assumption that a high-profile individual has more resources to manage public backlash. While it is true that celebrities often have access to legal teams and publicists, Candace emphasized that this does not necessarily shield them from the personal toll of constant public scrutiny and negative press. In fact, she argued that the visibility of a celebrity can make them more vulnerable to certain types of attacks because every detail of their life is subject to analysis and debate. She warned that this level of exposure can lead to an environment where women feel they must be hyper-cautious in every interaction for fear of how it might be perceived or misrepresented. Candace concluded this segment by reiterating her call for a more responsible and balanced approach to public discourse around high-profile legal disputes, noting that while entertainment value drives much of the coverage, there is an ethical responsibility to ensure that narratives are not built on stereotypes or speculation that can cause undue harm. As the dust begins to settle around the public, discourse sparked by Blake Lively's legal battle and Candace Owens' unapologetic commentary. One thing is clear, this story has transcended the boundaries of celebrity news to become a lens through which broader societal issues are examined. Candace has used her platform to raise questions that resonate far beyond Hollywood, asking whether the systems that claim to offer justice and fairness actually operate with the same standards for women as they do for men, and whether public opinion shaped by headlines and viral clips can ever truly separate fact from perception. The Blake Lively case has become a symbol of how fame magnifies both opportunity and risk, and how in moments of conflict, women in the spotlight face an added layer of judgment that often focuses on personality, image, and emotion, rather than on the facts at hand. While the eventual legal outcome will determine the official resolution, it will not erase the way narratives have been formed, shared, and embedded into the public consciousness. Candace Owens has challenged her audience to reflect on their role in sustaining these narratives, to question the ease with which stereotypes are applied, and to consider how different the conversation might look if the person at the center of it all were not a woman in entertainment. Whether one agrees with her conclusions or not, her commentary has sparked a dialogue about accountability, fairness, and the cultural forces that influence our interpretation of events. The legacy of this moment will not be measured only in court documents, but in whether it prompts a shift toward more thoughtful and balanced conversations about women navigating high-profile disputes. And perhaps that is the most important outcome of all.